Joss Whedon's fall from grace has been swift. Once praised for his feminism, the showrunner and director behind beloved films and TV shows like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Firefly, The Avengers, and to a much lesser extent, Avengers Age of Ultron, has been under fire for the past couple years for alleged abusive behavior that spans decades. For a few examples, on the set of the Justice League, a movie that Whedon took over from director Zack Snyder after Snyder stepped away due to his daughter's suicide, Whedon continually belittled and mocked actor Ray Fisher's creative input in regards to how to properly portray a black superhero. With the Justice League's Victor Stone, Whedon threatened Gal Gadot's career also on the set of the Justice League after she had expressed concerns over the portrayal of Wonder Woman, i.e. her character. Whedon's ex-wife Kai Cole accused him of infidelity and labeled him as a hypocrite preaching feminist ideals. Whedon reportedly belittled and humiliated a Firefly writer's script, reading the lines with funny voices because to his mind her script wasn't up to par. He allegedly had sex with a couple actresses during the Buffy era, and during the filming of Buffy and Angel, Whedon belittled actress Charisma Carpenter and even called her fat back when she was pregnant and asked if she was going to keep it. Wow, what a piece of shit. And honestly, there are more allegations of Whedon's horrid behavior and more victims, but for the sake of getting to the point of this video, I'll stop there, much like how Joss Whedon should have stopped being an abusive prick decades ago, because being an empathetic person shouldn't be that difficult, but I fucking digress. However, I'm a personal believer in character redemption and restorative justice. The idea that people who have committed bad actions in the past can strive to be better and improve themselves, that they can eventually be good people even though their past actions were horrid. And with that, reforming oneself is an act of self-care that takes a lot of personal reflection. It takes time. But in terms of Joss Whedon, he had the opportunity to do this. After all, time was something that he had in abundance, because many of the allegations against him came to light years ago, and Whedon had been hunkering down ever since, lying low. And with that, I hoped, however unlikely, that Whedon could have acted like an adult, accept the fact that he had inflicted pain on other people, apologize, and maybe grow beyond that. Because while his reputation as a director is in tatters, he can still salvage his personal future. He could be a better person. Unfortunately, this did not happen. In a recent interview with Vulture, no relation, Whedon had a chance to come clean and apologize for his behavior, something that he was ultimately reluctant to do. Sure, Whedon acknowledged that he has imperfections, that he has PTSD, which can cause his behavior to be faulty, and that he did have a lot of affairs where he abused his position in power. But when it came to the allegations of his awful on-set behavior, most of the interview revolves around him either denying the allegations or saying that those accusing him of abuse misinterpreted the situation, which for him can only go well. That's sarcasm. It did not go over very well. So let's discuss what he said about the allegations. In terms of raising his voice to the cast, Whedon said, "I yelled, and sometimes you had to yell. The cast on Buffy the Vampire Slayer was a very young cast, and it was easy for everything to turn into a cocktail party." End quote. In response to the accusation that he humiliated people, Whedon claims he never intentionally humiliated anyone. In regards to the instance where he allegedly grabbed a woman's arm to the point of pain, he responded, "I don't believe that. I know I would get angry, but I was never physical with people." End quote. He denied making out with an actress in an office. In terms of Charisma Carpenter, he admitted that he, quote, "was not mannerly," unquote, but still held her in high respect, saying that most of my experiences with Charisma were delightful and charming. She struggled sometimes with her lines. God, that's such a douchey thing to say. But nobody could hit a punchline harder than her, end quote. He further denied calling Carpenter fat. He also denied threatening an actress's career on Angel, much like how he also denied threatening Gal Gadot's career on the set of the Justice League, saying that she must have misunderstood him because English is not her first language. And oh my god, fuck you, dude. In regards to actor Ray Fisher and his concerns over Cyborg's depiction in the Justice League as a man of color, Whedon denied Ray Fisher's allegations made in the media, referring to them as neither being true or merited discussing, and viewed that Fisher made these allegations because he was a malevolent force. We are talking about a bad actor in both senses. What the fuck, dude? So Whedon looks bad in this interview, like really bad. Worse than Anthem. In fact, he comes across as a far cry from the feminist ally he once portrayed himself to be. In the interview, he had the opportunity to come clean, acknowledge his failings, apologize, and move on with his life. But unfortunately, he is still fighting a losing battle in regards to his shattered reputation. While Whedon did admit to having lots of problems in regards to his sexual appetite, he denied the vast majority of the abuse allegations against him, and even went so far as to accuse the victims of misunderstanding his intent, and in Ray Fisher's Avengers and the Justice League's case, calling a man of color concerned about the portrayal of a black character in a white-dominated genre as being a malevolent force on an article that released on Martin Luther King Day. But here is the thing, it isn't Whedon's call to be his own referee and dictate which of his past behaviors were and were not abusive. That is up to his victims, the people who were actually hurt by him, obviously. Admittedly, to play devil's advocate here, there is an argument in regards to cancel culture, so-called, and how maybe Joss Whedon is just misunderstood, that he is being truthful, and he really is being confronted by a malevolent force trying to use any means to take him and his reputation down. But this is bullshit. Naming an abuser is a brave act and an option that victims don't take lightly, especially in an industry and a culture that rewards abusers and punishes those who speak out. In the film industry especially, seeing as executives don't want to work with those who disrupt the normal proceedings of their business and want to keep and protect abusers who are good for their companies. And to go further, fans of those accused of abuse often victim shame and label victims as opportunistic liars, even though the opposite is the case. See the comment section for any article that brings up Marilyn Manson and Evan Rachel Wood. For victims, there are only hard options here. They can either keep the pain inflicted upon them by their abuser a secret, or they can go public but run the risk of ruining their personal reputations and their careers, which is ironic given that Whedon allegedly threatened that very thing to a few people. And due to this, the people speaking out against Joss Whedon are courageous, they are inspiring, and they are breaking free from the real malevolent force, the one that is Joss Whedon. Some of Whedon's victims themselves have pointed this out as well, criticizing his belief that he is being attacked by a malevolent force, i.e. cancel culture, as being complete nonsense. Hell, both Ray Fisher and Charisma Carpenter, two of Whedon's most notable victims, both posted some simultaneously satirical and sincere tweets on the matter. Starting with Charisma Carpenter, she wrote, "I stand with Ray Fisher, the malevolent force and bad actor in both senses, who poisoned my feeble mind with trendy buzzwords and corrupt ideas about my experiences with a former tyrannical and narcissistic boss who is still unable to be accountable and just apologize." In a follow-up tweet, Carpenter responded to the allegation that Gal Gadot misunderstood Whedon due to how English isn't her first language by saying, "I believe Gal Gadot not only understands career threats in English, but also in Hebrew and Arabic, possibly French, Spanish, and Italian too," end quote. Additionally, Ray Fisher posted in support of Charisma Carpenter as well, with a tweet saying, "I stand with Charisma Carpenter, who, like this bad actor in both senses, has no agency of determining matters of abuse and race, but for the influence of a white male shadow puppeteer," end quote. Point taken. On one final note, I just want to say that Whedon's fall from the cinematic heavens isn't an example of cancel culture. Despite how people in his circle believe that the allegations, like the ones Charisma Carpenter made, were the result of an online cancel culture fury against Whedon, Whedon's downfall is an example of accountability more so than cancel culture. It is an example of a man reckoning with his abhorrent past actions and having his character rightfully criticized. It's about people acknowledging that Whedon's once beloved feminist heroines might not come from the best source. And finally, it's about preventing an abusive person like Whedon from ever being in a place of power or sway ever again. Because truly, the situation is bigger than Joss Whedon. It is about those he hurt, and I only wish that Whedon realized that. And with that, that was the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave a like rating, subscribe, ring the bell, share, and leave a comment telling me what you think of this whole clusterfuck. Also, please consider checking out my Patreon page. The link is in the description. And speaking of Patreon, I just want to thank my patrons, especially my high tier ones in David, Samantha, Devlin, Mom, and Morgan. Thank you so much for supporting what I do. Love y'all. Joss Whedon. What a shit show.